have a super.
Hmm?
Give us $4.
Are we live? Are we? We're
No.
live, right? I believe we're live. Guys,
Well,
we're
it
live?
says live.
Well, it says live as well. But my intro... Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to a very interesting Hollywood Backlot with Lou and you, it would seem. Sorry about that, folks. Having some issues on the server side, on my side. Now I'm getting the Wi-Fi signal. Hopefully I'm coming in clear. Lou, how are you doing today?
I'm just fine. I don't know what the heck your problem is.
No, I have no idea.
You see what happens when you change days on us? I tell you.
Oh, yeah.
The universe was waiting for us on a Sunday, and so they'll just keep right on waiting. Anyway, here we are.
Absolutely. Here we are. Thank you so much for joining us right here on this amazing Hollywood Backlot with Lou and you. I am your host, VashSky. While we are honoring the amazing Lou Wasserman's Ghost right here, how he relays us his amazing stories from the amazing industry that is known as Hollywood. Thank you.
You know, that's just amazing.
Yeah, exactly, indeed. Just want to go ahead and start with some things out here. Like, for example, Samuel Maine coming in here with a $4 super sticker right off the bat, and I can't see what it is because I'm having router issues. I'm sorry about that, Samuel, but thank you so much for the $4. Very much appreciated. Very good, sir. Thank you. Ooh, I can see it on this end.
With a coffee cup or a chicken.
Yeah, it's like
cup. It's a pear with
okay.
a chicken's top knot and a coffee cup.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Lou. Very much appreciated.
Makes as much sense as everything else today. Anyway.
Well, you know what's interesting about all this, Lou? I was going to start the show talking about, well, the amazing Courthouse Square in Universal Studios, which if they caught it right there, boom, that's what's in the background there of our great thumbnail today. But we had some news drop on us, and since it is sort of semi-historical, at least now. I don't know if you heard this, Lou. I know you're a fan of Keanu Reeves and an amazing John Wick series, right? Well, apparently he was going to be in another series. This time, The Acolyte. He was almost Master Soul in The Acolyte and couldn't due to scheduling conflicts. Lucasfilm apparently very interested in casting Reeves in a different Star Wars project. again, folks, I know we cover the historical and the vintage and the classic, but since, well, this did happen a little bit back in history here, could you imagine, Lou? Keanu Reeves?
I'd rather not.
I'd rather not too. And I think I know. I think I saw an illustration out there of how this actually went. I think is that right? Is that how that went?
Yeah,
right there.
Yeah, I think it was more the holding the collar of the bulletproof suit up to his face, hiding behind it like the shadow move from John Wick that would have been in it. But
yeah, exactly. Man, really did dodge a bullet right there. This show has been a complete dumpster fire in terms of just everything surrounding it, from the show itself to the fans outcry and so forth.
Oh, fans,
very interesting.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All 12 of them want their cupcakes.
Hey, there are dozens of us, Lou. No, yeah, exactly. You're not
I'm
wrong
so
about
bored
that.
with the Acolyte. I can't begin to tell you. I didn't watch it. I don't want to watch it. I don't care about any of these people. And when I hear about the power of many, I think of Mo and Jack wanting equal time at the Pep Boys. Anyway,
fantastic. Well, then let's get back to things that we do care about, like the classic cornerstones of vintage Hollywood, I think is how that goes.
Yeah, my definition of vintage is a little older than our folks in the chat, and that's okay. I forget who now, shame on me, but one of our friends, regular viewers, asked about favorite movie of the 1980s. And I got a list of 100 of them. And there's some obvious things you could pick. But I'm going to pick something not so obvious. Although I will point out that one on this list is something that we've done recently on the Genre Guys, which is Local Hero, which is one of my favorite little movies. But I'm interestingly on this list, and this is on IMDb, and I don't know who chose them and how they got this order. But next to each other are two, cornfield movies, Hoosiers and Field of Dreams. And I like both of those movies a whole heck of a lot. So there you go. And so I'll pick them over some of the more famous things. But there's some good movies in the 80s.
There's some great
News,
movies in the 80s.
Nightmare on Elm Street, Driving Miss Daisy, A Fish Called Wanda, Passage to India.
And that's before you even get to some of the classics,
Glory, Chariots of Fire, Little Mermaid, Kagemusha, The Right Stuff, Blood Simple. Oh, I love Blood Simple. Anybody out there who's never seen Blood Simple, the beginning is so great, and it's M. Emmett Walsh who plays this kind of sleazy private eye, wears a seersucker suit and a straw hat, and it's his voiceover. And I can almost do it from memory, and so I will try. He says, they say in Russia, everybody shares everything and nobody owns nothing and everybody gets along. Well, I don't know much about Russia, but this here is Texas. And in Texas, you on your own. And that sets up the movie. In Texas, you on your own. Rain Man, Back to the Future, Spinal Tap. I'm just scanning through Christmas Story, Scarface, The Big Chill, The Princess Bride, Gandhi. Now that's interesting too. In this particular list, in order, Gandhi and The Last Emperor. Those are kind of two of the same but different. Die Hard, of course, which again the Genre Guys have done and is a favorite. The Untouchables, Das Boot, Airplane, Brazil, Full Metal Jacket, The Shining, Elephant Man, Empire Strikes Back,
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, Blue Velvet, Raiders, of course. Once Upon a Time in America, Cinema Paradiso, Amadeus, etc., etc., etc. So good couple of years for movies. But meanwhile, back to the present.
Usually you're the one telling stories here, Lou, and I'm sure you will have great many stories
about
to tell.
Courthouse Square. That's not the original building. That it's been totally redone over the years.
Yes, yeah. You can kind of
That
see some of those
mock-up
photos
of
right
the
here.
airplanes that they built for Airplane and then 747 was right around the corner to the left where the DeLorean goes zapping off past the drive-in movie. Or not the
Yep.
drive-in movie, but right in that picture right there, it would be
Yeah, it's
about
kind of on the far side.
where this tree is, just to the left of that was stage 747. Ha ha ha
Mm.
ha. But see
But
how
now
this
they're
is just the front. The old original went around the sides and was actually more of a building. But
they're the sound stages that they've just recently built to offset the sound stages near the theme park side of the studio Backlot.
right.
Cropped up over there. Yeah, this is all very, very interesting. Also, too, did you know, Lou, that the original name for Back to the Future, well, it was always Back to the Future, but there was a certain Universal executive who wanted the name to be changed
to
the spaceman from Pluto. Actually, Sid Sheinberg, apparently. You can see in that photo right next to Lou Wasserman there.
Yes, that's as Lou was to Julie Stein, Sid was to Lou. And as we were discussing before the show, Sid's wife got some perks from him being the head of the studio, like she is Roy Scheider's wife in Jaws. Gosh, you can see so much from there. If you see that black building right behind Lou's head in that picture, I don't know if you want to go back to it or not.
Yep.
That's actually the Technicolor lab. That's not Universal, but it was right there next to Universal. When they moved out of Hollywood, when they sold the old 3-color process to the Chinese. I got to tour that factory before they tore it down. That was something. And so at one point, I used to park in that parking structure you see on the right. And the big stage right next to it on the right, the very large sound stage there, that was the home of American Gladiator. And it was also the summer that I gripped there, they were making Hindenburg. That stage, which is enormous, is one of the 2 big ones, was entirely a gray SkyCyc inside, and the model of the Hindenburg, which was 9-10 feet long and animated fully. All the little motors worked, all the little lights worked, and they would fill the stage up with fake cloud so that it hung at a certain level and ride along with motion control on a crane, floating up out of the clouds with it, going down into the clouds with it, shooting it from every angle possible. And then later they took the models out and they put the interiors on the Hindenburg in there on big, huge hydraulic platforms so they could rock and roll them to move with the imitation of flight. So,
man. So much.
And that was a set. I gripped on that set, and the wall units, the 4-foot wall units for the corridors and the rooms on the Hindenburg were actually white canvas stretched over frames like a painting. And painted on them were copies of what originally was on the Hindenburg, which was the Hindenburg flying over the pyramids or the Hindenburg flying over the Eiffel Tower. And you had to wear white cotton editing gloves to grip on that show so your finger marks wouldn't get on those paintings, basically. Yeah.
Whoa. Wow. Absolutely incredible. Indeed. There's so much great movie history, that is for sure. But yes, Sid Sheinberg, very interesting fella. Definitely had his opinions and so forth. But when it came to Back to the Future, yeah, Spaceman from Pluto was his only stipulation about doing the film. Again, Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale. Robert Zemeckis coming off of Romancing the Stone. He had a little bit of pull, but he was kind of a new director. And so I know Bob Gale and Robert Zemeckis were like, we don't know what to do with this and how to really approach this. Gave it over to Steven Spielberg, who said, "Don't worry, guys, I got this." Sent a note back to Sid Sheinberg. "Hey, that was a great joke there. Ha ha ha. We all got a good laugh of that." And I guess Sid was he didn't want to come out and say that wasn't a joke, that was he was really thinking, because everybody, well, he was laughing, according to Steven Spielberg. But I just never pressed the issue again, and then went forward with the production. Indeed, very, very, very interesting. But you can see a lot of photos of the two of them together, and I think that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
That is awesome
people.
there. Oop. Yep. There's a lot
Robert
of
Wagner over on the left.
Mm.
And I don't know why they were together, but they were at that moment.
Yeah, he definitely got around, obviously. Steven Spielberg right there, Lee Warsman. And you've seen this photo, I'm sure, a few times here associated with the channel, which is very, very cool. The movie history and Courthouse Square and everything, what got me onto this Back to the Future kick a little bit is because Universal is announcing some special themed nights next year in 2025, where they'll be honoring or featuring great franchises like Back to the Future, Star Trek, and Dungeons and Dragons, all kinds of stuff.
Well, I remember going to a sort of employee Christmas party on the square one night.
Ooh.
Not because I or my wife were working there anymore, but our next door neighbor, that lady I told you used to handle the checks for $1 million and more. And they had food booths and all kinds of fun stuff set up on that square.
So. Oh, that's so cool. That's fantastic. That's awesome. We're all kind of wondering what they're going to do over here for that event. People are speculating, maybe, I don't know, could you do something special Back to the Future related in Courthouse Square, which they kind of did for the recent anniversary of the tour, or could you possibly bring Back to the Future into the Simpsons building? I don't know. We'll see. But it's definitely got the fans kind of pumped for what Universal has in store, because, well, they're a company that wants their consumers to come back. So that's
for those who did not catch it this week. Universal dropped another one of those wonderful videos and fly-throughs. This time, because they've done all the lands, the portals now, it was all about the fancy hotel, the Helios Grand. And oh my, does it look like fun. It's like second mortgage your children and book a week. But that's where.
And I can tell you right here, Lou. Here, let's get a picture of this going on right there. Look at that. Boom.
Yeah.
Spectacular. And it looks just as good as the concept art, folks. And I will say,
the only part about it that surprised me, they talked about a breakfast, lunch, and dinner restaurant and a grab and go. There is no quote unquote fancy restaurant in this very fancy hotel. Now there is this Pan Asian thing that you see on the left that's adjacent, but maybe they figured since they're giving you access to the park through the hotel just for hotel guests, that with things like Atlantic and some of the other dining facilities, you don't need it. But I thought that was unusual for a high-end hotel. This is under, if you go back one, this is under that dome up there on the top. It's a rooftop bar. So that black surface that you see go now forward to that with all the constellations, that's that dome on the roof. And of course, amazing views of fireworks and other fun stuff.
Amazing views. I mean, this thing looks absolutely gorgeous. It looks outrageous. Every single piece of concept art that they've released for this looks,
and guess what?
Super
funny,
good.
Strange. We should call the Guinness Book, because at Universal, the real thing looks like the concept art. What a shocking concept that is.
Yeah, it's not usually a thing,
Look,
right?
There's the view from that bar.
Yeah,
wow.
And
of course, the fireworks come up from behind you. If you go to a map shot or an overhead, you can show that catch basin with the peninsula they're going to launch the fireworks from.
Right.
On the front side, behind the pool.
So here's a little bit of a concept art showing that, and also too.
Well, but then when you look
clear,
if you pull it up on a map, there we go. See that long finger of land sticking out into the lake back there? Yep. That's where they're going to launch the fireworks from.
Yep.
So imagine how that will frame the views. So even if you pay 10 cents less and get a room on the not park side, you'll have something to see when the lights go out. Or just go up to the bar.
It looks so cool. It looks so extraordinary. I cannot wait to see this thing in real life. And from the entrance point of view, I mean, it really does make a statement. It's definitely the weenie, almost like a castle. It draws you forward into the celestial park space and so forth, right in front of the portals. It just looks extraordinary. Now, Lou, I have not shown you this yet, but I have been privy to the West Coast version of the Helios and what it will look like. I'm talking about the entrance hotel.
But I haven't seen it. No, let's see that.
Well, I can't show you, Lou. Because,
what are they calling it officially anyway? Have they got a name for it yet?
They don't have a name for it. I don't even think they've officially announced it, but they are working on it. I think they pulled some permits, and they've sent some of those to the city. There's some concept art out there that is very exclusive to a select few. Was able to get my hands on it. It looks extraordinary. It almost looks like it looks very similar to the West Coast version of the Helios. It's kind of what it is trying to emulate.
Is Lowe's going to manage that one too, or are they going to eventually kick whoever it is, Hilton and whatever, out of those other hotels and make it all Lowe's? I wonder.
That's a good question. I believe Lowe's is still going to be in charge of it. The surrounding hotels will still be in place, but there's going to be a entrance hotel just right outside the security checkpoint that you see now, that parking lot, Lou, if you...
Yeah. Where that... what was it called? Victoria Station, that prime rib place used to be.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And they also want another hotel on the other side, next to the kind of ET parking structure there. And those will be the two resort hotels that are connected to Universal Studios Hollywood. And the main entrance one, 500 rooms, just like the Helios is, like literally it has the dome. It's spread out in this same exact manner. But instead of going with a Mediterranean theme, it's almost like a Spanish Mission theme.
Yeah, that makes sense.
To better emulate the entrance to Universal Studios Hollywood. You've got Spanish roofs on a few of the rooftops of that hotel.
And we didn't mention that at the Helios, they're going to have, I think it's 14 special suites themed around Isle of Berk, How to Train Your Dragon.
Yep. They will. Let's see if I can get to view pictures of those. It's hard not to be excited for this, folks, because, I mean, Universal is doing the things that, I don't know, Disney used to be known for, right? So here we go.
Yeah, because there you go. My one beef with the Universal hotels has always been that they've always felt like glorified airport hotels. High end, but kind of not very sexy theming wise. But now, wow.
I love the Mediterranean theme for it. I love how the theme of the park is extended into the hotel and really kind of creates this unique experience that follows you home kind of thing. I love that.
A dragon follows you home, probably.
Yeah, a dragon follows you home. Exactly, indeed. I love it. I love everything about this. I think Universal's really stepping up their game. The fact that they actually did like a whole video on this was very, very cool. Making it, hyping it up like an attraction. I think it's great. I can't wait, Lou. I can't wait to go out there in Florida. But like you said, not July or August. None of those things.
When you mention dates of things, and granted, we're a movie show, not a theme park show. You wouldn't know it from us, but they've officially said they're going to open Tiana at Disneyland in November.
Yeah, November 15th.
We all doubted that. Now, do you think that's real or not? Or are they saying we're going to open it even if it's still broken like the other one because that didn't stop us before? Or
I think that's what they're saying. I think that's exactly what they're saying. I think come hell or high water, we're going to have...
And the good news is it'll be just like the one in Florida.
Yes.
Anyway,
it'll match the uptime of the one in Florida. Apparently, they're doing some things to.
They really want Christmas is the point. They really want something for Christmas, and they haven't got anything else except ill will over the idea of closing all the things they want to close. So
yeah, I know they filed permits for the Marvel attractions that are coming to Disney California Adventure. There's more speculation on what is going on there. Again, we'll get to all of that, folks, on T3PO Live. That is for sure on Tuesday. But
meanwhile, back at the movies.
Yeah. Meanwhile, back at the old movie house here. Because
we got an interesting email. And of course, it's not about movies either, but what the hell? Not exactly. It's about radio. But anyway.
Well, that's true right here. So from Rhino1971 at frontier.com, we'll go ahead and go straight to the question. But thank you so much for your appreciation of the show. Everything from yours truly, Johnny. Oh, sorry about that. I do have a question. In addition to old movies, I'm a huge fan of the old radio series.
I don't like to criticize anybody because, hey, we all have typos. But that's a funny one. My insights. As opposed to INSIGHT, it's an incitement to riot on the movie industry, and I'll cop to that. But anyway,
everything from yours truly, Johnny Dollar, to the Whistler. Do you think there could be still a market for radio drama today, or would it even be feasible? I know there are different podcasts that tell stories, but I mean actual radio. I can't say this enough. Thank you both for the series, Ryan.
I think it's a lost art, and I use as my evidence books on tape. The best ones are not the dramatized ones, the ones that try to be like old radio. The best ones are a really good actor doing a really good reading. And I think, I don't know. Of course, radio, aside from being wonderful and being, as it was called by some, I think Arch Obler or somebody like that, the theater of the mind, because you filled in all the blanks with your imagination. It was the only game in town. And it died as television came up behind it saying, no, we can give you pictures too. So whether it could come back, I don't know. But we have all the old ones to listen to. You know, there's a certain school of thought that says if they did it right, why should we try again? Let's just listen to those and enjoy them. Certainly, I would bet, and I don't know how many we've got in the chat right now, but I'll bet a lot of you have never heard of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, or even The Whistler, which was more famous. I have, and I've heard the shows. So there's a couple good shows you may want to Google and listen to, because I guarantee you they're out there.
Yeah, you could track them down. A lot of that copyright has been, I mean, you know.
A lot of that, it's long out of copyright. But
right. So yeah, there's a ton of stuff that you can look up, which is great. I know Lou and you showed me a couple of things that are online. I've listened to a couple of those. Amazing stuff. That is absolutely for sure. The dramatized stuff, like I remember like the Star Wars radio show that came out, I believe in the late 1970s, early 80s. Actually starred Mark Hamill. I think that was his first foray into
they started doing
voice
those.
acting. Yeah. And then I believe the same group who did that produced the Kogatarn Dark Forces series, and those were always so cool. So that kind of stuff, like you can definitely produce that, but in the old kind of radio format where it's broadcast, I don't think.
The other thing they would never do now is do it live, and therefore you wouldn't get the wonderful bloopers. There are some classic radio bloopers out there. For example, one of them that's famous, as you all might know or might not know, NBC was so big it had two networks. One was called the Red Network and one was called the Blue Network. And that was part of when all that antitrust started. They made them get rid of the lesser stations. And that is how ABC began. But anyway, there's a famous blooper where one of the staff announcers coming out of Radio City in New York doesn't realize which one he's on. And so his standard intro would be, "This is the Red Network of the National Broadcasting." So there's a famous typo or blooper of him going, "This is either the Red Network or the Blue Network of the National Broadcasting Company," because he didn't know. There's a famous one. There was an actor, a minor actor, not exactly a dramatic actor. He always kind of played the best friend of the hero, the big football player best friend. And his name was Sonny Tufts, Tufts. And they're promoting this next week's show. And next week in a thrilling, dramatic episode, we have, and they mention all the stars, and then they get to the last person in the cast. And Sonny Tufts? And he says it with that question, like, what the heck is he doing in there with all those good people? So he wasn't too thrilled. And anyway, we wouldn't get that now, I'm afraid. It wouldn't be that spontaneous.
Well, yeah, I love the old radio dramas. Love the as a Kit Kat has said, and I do agree with you. Love the old radio dramas. Love all of that. Just great stuff. I just wish I wish we could get some of that stuff back, but now obviously it's taking new forms. Obviously, we have podcasts and productions on TV and on streaming and all kinds of stuff. But there was definitely a simpler time that I would like to very much evoke one day. That is for sure. Like you said, Lou, not live, and that's also another.
Of course,
lost
a
art
lot
as
of
well.
that old stuff would get pilloried nowadays for racial stereotypes and attitudes that are unbecoming a modern, sensitive, touchy-feely world, right? So, certainly the dialect and the accents, which were such a great part of those shows, would be reviled in certain circles today. So there you go.
There you go. To Neil, 89, aka Dislikes Pun, with $2. Thank you for your 10th super chat. Wow, man. Spending your 10th with us. That is amazing. No, the glitch is back. Sorry. If they want people to leave, that's very clever. Yeah, it is. It is. I don't know what Disney's doing, honestly.
And to Neil, the next one gave us another one, and the answer is I've never heard of him. So sorry. Tell me about him. Who is he?
Oh,
I could Google it, but go to the next one, Vash. There you go.
Yep.
Dan Abnett. Don't know anything about him.
Lou, do you ever read anything from Dan Abnett? I have not heard of him either, Tennille. I do apologize, but thank you so much for your $2 super chats there. Very much appreciated. And thank you for spending your 10th with us.
It says here, British comic book writer and novelist. Known for his work on Marvel, DC, 2000 AD, which is, Judge Dredd, and Games Workshop titles. No, sorry, I never have. I'll look into it.
Definitely look into it.
Yeah. To Neil, was that a suggestion or a warning as to whether I should look into it or not?
Dan right there. There you go.
Boy.
Definitely have to, look into it either with caution or with very much intrigue. I'm not sure either, Lou. But thank you so much, Neil, for those super chats. Very much indeed. Speaking of Judge Dredd, Lou, maybe that's one you can cover on the genre, guys, right? Not the new one, but the original.
Maybe.
That's it. Yeah, it's
not soon, because we've got sort of. God, have we got a long list? And every time I think of an old movie, I add it to the list.
Yep. It'd be interesting.
But as I said, we're about to do the original Superman. Tonight we're recording it. And I don't know when it'll get it. What a wacky movie that is. What a strange, wacky movie. I forgot how strange. It's still wonderful, but it's so damn strange. And I am so thankful they got Gene Hackman for that. And the rest of them. But that whole opening in the 1930s in the black and white curtain, and I'm going, why? What's that got? And from there you go to Krypton, as Marlon. Everybody who ever read the comics I did, Krypton, but Marlon, Krypton.
Yes.
And all those costumes that were made out of reflective lighting paper. You know that. That's how they got him so glowy. It's like this spun fiberglassy stuff.
Okay.
It's like the stuff that's in movie screens that makes them reflect really well in one direction.
Gotcha.
And the fact that they hired all of those people for that prologue, Trevor Howard and all those great British actors, to be in the movie for 10 seconds and spend all that effort setting up the plot of the second movie, which they didn't know for sure there was going to be a second movie. But audience, you're going to come along kicking and screaming while we send these people into the neutral zone or whatever. And then we'll get around to telling you about Little Kal-El. And then the other thing that Vash and I were discussing that I thought of, and you'll hear all this again on the genre guys, because, hey, I recycle, was we wondered, when you consider how damned wonderfully good Glenn Ford is as Pa Kent.
Yeah.
And then you think of Cliff Robertson as Spider-Man's uncle, Ben. And it's the same part. It's the same role. And you wonder, did Cliff Robertson watch Superman and gets any acting ideas from Glenn Ford? I don't know. Probably.
I think so.
It's probably been asked in a interview somewhere that's around. But anyway.
I think that makes a lot of sense, you know.
He was allegedly not a very nice guy, but I don't know. But
that's unfortunate. We've seen a little bit of that from superhero films and so forth. We'll recall certain events and so forth from previous works, or it be inspired by them, and so they'll go ahead and take those ideas and deliver them in a new way. Let's say.
Yeah. The other thing that got me about that movie was they worked so hard, and it's so obvious on all the makeup on that kid who plays young Clark to make him look nothing like Chris Reeve. it's you know, I mean, he could have been wearing a rubber mask. He's wearing so much makeup and wig. And it's like, for what reason? I don't know.
Yeah, that's definitely a choice.
And then I was reading a an interview someplace, I guess it was at Facebook, with Roger Moore.
Mm-hmm.
And he was making one of the Bond films at the same time they were shooting Superman in England at the same studio. And he talked about how he remembers being in the commissary having lunch and Chris Reeve walking in as Superman, and every person, especially the women in the room, just sort of, their heart skipped a beat, stopping looking at him because he was so gorgeous. And that on a different day, he came in as Clark Kent and nobody paid any attention at all. So it obviously worked, you know, I mean, in real life. Anyway.
The glasses. We always hear about the glasses. Apparently it didn't work, though.
Yeah.
Oh, that's absolutely fantastic. Well, Christopher Reeve, very, you know, obviously known for a bunch of work, but that's probably his most famous role there for sure. Just a very, very interesting life and a horrible accent there that took him out of the game. But everybody remembers them as their Superman. And
yes,
that is
the
awesome.
Phantom Zone. I'm sorry, Josh, you're right. I'm a little pooped. But it would have been interesting if they went to the neutral zone and got between the Romulans and the Federation, but that was not to be. That was not to be.
Not to be.
Or the Twilight Zone.
Yeah. Well, you know, look, when Mario Kidder, you know, passes away, we could just have Superman right there, spin back time like he does, and I don't know, end up somewhere. Maybe the past, maybe somewhere else.
Somewhere in time.
That's
and suddenly it's not Margot, it's Jane Seymour. But anyway,
that's a strange movie too, by the way.
Yeah, but not that kind of strange. It works.
It does. There's a charm to it for sure.
And a friend of mine was first AD on that. First AD.
Oh, really?
I forget which, but they had a lot of fun up there in Mackinac.
That's
Ate
cool.
a lot of fudge. They're famous for their fudge up there, you know.
That's the one where he sees the coin, right?
Yeah.
Sends him back.
Yeah.
It's a great moment. Great moment. Tennille, 89, again, with $5. Thank you so much. Again, 10 super chat. Awesome. Prolific author. I know him mostly for his Warhammer 40,000 work. Oh, okay. So it looks like that's a recommendation there, Lou. Gonna have to check out Dan Abnett one of these times. Very, very cool. Thank you so much, Neil. Very much appreciate it.
Well, I see Dice is asking about strikes. There's still a couple going on, you know, or threatened. The SAG that does animation voiceovers is having issues, and there's some offshoots of the Teamsters for production managers and a few other things that are having issues, and I don't think anybody cares anymore. They're worn out.
Yeah, they're a little bit worn out. Also, too, we can't have any more disruptions to the industry itself. I think it's just been been really,
yeah,
really bad.
but if they stop and rethink on things like Lucas and Marvel, that's an automatic slowdown. If you're not rushing out to do $200 million series for Disney Plus that stink, there'll be less production.
Yeah, that's I suppose it's a good point. It's just I would think that at least what we've seen, like what for Disneyland, for example, right? Disneyland cast members, it's like, let's just give them what they want and let's just move on here. Obviously,
and move on to laying half of them off.
Yeah, well, that's
the good
coming,
news
I'm
is
sure.
you're going to get $20-some an hour. Bad news is not here because you don't work here anymore.
Not good, not good. And hopefully that doesn't happen with IATSE either. You know, those AI clauses and so forth. Hopefully they're not too work disruptive, but we'd have to assume that they are too.
You need those guys to make a movie. I know they wish they didn't, but you need those guys and gals.
Yep. So we'll see.
Unfortunately, hey kids, let's put on a show is not a viable production concept for a major studio.
Yeah,
not even if Mickey Rooney were still alive. So.
Yeah, I guess we just saw that with the Acolyte, right? It just didn't work out.
Can you and I make a pact? Let's not mention that damn show again.
Okay. All right. I
mean,
yeah, there's so much other great content that we could actually reference.
Yes, pick something else and let's talk about it, but not that.
Indeed, I do agree. Well, we were talking about, before the show. That was kind of interesting. Not to speak ill will of anybody, but
you mean wacky actresses?
Yeah, wacky actresses.
Let's not go into them either. There's one.
Right.
Oh, look, there's one. Oh boy.
I will say, there have been very notable characters rolling through Hollywood over the years. Lou, I don't want to necessarily call out anybody that was crazy, but I mean, who do you think was the most, I don't know, eccentric of the Hollywood personalities?
You don't want to call out anybody who's crazy. You want me to? Is that the deal?
No. I'm not crazy, eccentric. Just had a particular way of carrying themselves, maybe.
Let's not go there. First of all, where do you start? How do you give somebody the number one spot in that sweepstakes? Certainly the lady on your screen, ladies and gentlemen, was famously nuts. And that's a shame. But, but you watch that first Superman movie, you'd never know it, and she's wonderful. She's really funny, and she's really clever, and she's a wonderful counterpart to his Clark. To Superman, but without her as that sort of, and for that matter, she makes Jackie Cooper's Perry White work too. So it's a great movie. Anyway, I don't want to blow all of my Superman stuff here because I said tonight I'll be saying it all again with Lauren and with Marvin, the movie monster, who's filling in for the Hangry Table, who's on a trek to the outback of Kanekistan.
I guess everybody's doing something this summer, huh?
Yeah, you're off to the desert. He's off to the mountains. Me, I'm just stuck here.
Well,
stuck in the middle with you.
That's funny. That's great. Lou. I know you are very passionate about many a franchise, but I know one that strikes your particular fancy that we are going to be covering tomorrow. It's the genre guys technically covering it tomorrow. I think you know the one I'm talking about right here. The classic Dr. No actually is going to be premiering tomorrow.
Oh, that's a good show.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't know they were starting a franchise. They were making a movie for under $1 million. with some no-name guy that had been in a kiddie movie at Disney and had been a lifeguard and been a bodybuilder. And his I think his first professional acting gig was as one of the crew in a stage production of South Pacific or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's funny what a lot of actors did at the beginning. I know I read an interview recently with James Garner, and he was in the Cane Mutiny on stage as one of the judges. So he had like no lines, and his whole job was to sit there and listen to the trial like a judge. He said, but you sure learn a lot about acting when your job is to listen. And it helped him later. So
yeah, that's really great advice. I do think that's a underrated talent there, and I think it's the greatest part of acting, especially in either theater or movie, is that the chemistry between the characters. If an actor's really listening to them and adjusting their performance.
Well,
to
and
the
remember the difference between a stage and a movie.
Mm-hmm.
There is an expression in the theater to take stage. And that means the audience sees the whole proscenium, the whole set. There are no close-ups. There is no editing to draw your attention to a particular area. So if an actor wants to take over the moment, or the director wants him to, he steps forward or he moves or he does something to draw your attention away from everybody else and to him, or vice versa, to not draw your attention to him. So there's a whole different technique there. Yes. Fine looking young man.
Fine Scottish actor right there. Definitely laying out the groundwork for what a Bond can truly be. Or
well, can you pull up a picture of Hoagie Carmichael?
Oh, yes. Give me just 1 second here, and I will go
because
ahead
that's who Ian Fleming said Bond looked like.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a totally different interpretation than...
Well, that one in the upper right corner of that 3-shot there. But yeah, that's how Ian Fleming envisioned him. So
gotcha. Okay.
Piano player, composer. But so, Shaka na Songu. And from that to Sean, to Roger Moore, to Timothy Dalton, to, all the others.
Fantastic.
And for that matter, Barry Nelson in the first production of it, other than the books, which was a TV version of Casino Royale. And that is why Casino Royale got done as a comedy later, because it wasn't in the package that Saltzman and Broccoli bought. And Le Chiffre, who in the comedy version was Orson Welles, in that TV version was Peter Lorre. So there you go.
Such a crazy history there. That's wild. Casino Royale actually doing very, very well at the box office when it was officially folded into the James Bond franchise.
Yeah, because that was the reboot of Daniel Craig as the brand new James Bond, which they went back to the beginning of the story, basically.
Now, there's an idea, Lou, because obviously the James Bond franchise is, what? And we're talking.
Well, they did their best to indie it in the last movie, as far as I'm concerned.
That's very true. So the idea is, I think, if you go back to the well, what do you do? How do you keep it fresh? What would you think of like a retro James Bond where it's like literally set in the 1960s?
If they knew how. No, because, well, in some ways it would be relevant again because, of course, the chief bad guy then was the Russians, and they are not partners in peace anymore. So, but again, don't forget that lead time factor. Who knows what the world would be by then?
Yeah, that's true.
And of course, the Chinese were the ones giving Goldfinger his atom bomb to irradiate the gold supply at Fort Knox.
Ooh, wow. Poignant and ahead of its time, it sounds like.
Oh, well, we always knew they were bad guys, but they were bad guys because they were students of the Russians.
Sure.
Then they got the ornery Asiatic uppityness to go their own way.
Your descriptions of foreign policy, Lou. Foreign relations, very good. I like that.
Ooh,
man,
wait a minute. That's something I can recommend to people. Let me see if I can find it.
Please.
Because lately I've been watching a fascinating show on YouTube. Let's see. Let me go back to my histoire and see. Oh, wait, I'm in the wrong. I'll get there. You back and film without me.
Don't even worry about it. I got your back right here. By the way, guys, you can offer us a question in the chat if you would like to, or you can go ahead and send us your questions at t3ponline@yahoo.com. That's actually where Ryan was able to email us before. So please send us your question, and we will definitely feature it on the show.
Here we go. It's a show on YouTube, and you can find their channel, History Undone, with James Hansen. And what they do is they take the greatest battles in history, and they bring in a couple of very, very expert historians, one of whom was the Navy commander of NATO at one point. And they go through and they tell you the story of Midway or Pearl Harbor or the Battle of the Bulge, the one I watched just yesterday. And then they say, what if the other guys won? What would it do to the history of the whole world? And it's fascinating. It is just plain fascinating and very, very well done. So if you are into the history of civilization and warfare and whatever, History Undone with James Hansen is something you want to watch. There, I did it. There it is. Yeah. See the what if the Tet Offensive never happened? What if, that one at the beginning there, Hitler's final gamble paid off. And scroll down, you'll see all the different kinds of things that they do, and who they're. This is the guy on the left. This tank did not. That guy is at the Tank Museum in England, and they do the Civil War. I was watching Gettysburg the other day, and all of these experts, just fascinating stuff.
Great stuff.
And the biggest stuff about a lot of the Japanese war is what if that got Russia into the war? What if the Japanese attacked Russia? Because remember, Russia and Japan were not at war in World War II until the very end, when Japan was losing anyway, and the Russians thought, oh, maybe we can get a piece of the action. Because they couldn't afford to fight on those two fronts. So what if they had to? And of course, there's history there because the Sino-Soviet War, as they call it, or the Japanese-Russian War, where the Japanese Navy wiped out the Russian Navy. Anyway, that's all history, but it's a great channel. If you just want to take a half an hour and go see what ifs, it's well done, and certainly the people doing it are very, very expert. So it's not just pie in the sky what ifs. Anyway,
that's cool. That's a great channel recommendation.
I see. You'd have to ask the real guy, Josh, about the glasses. Everybody has a style. It worked for Edith Head. That's all I can say. And Spoon said Duel is Spielberg's most underrated movie. I'd say, it's awfully good. I've actually got the movie poster from Duel somewhere.
Do you?
Yeah.
That is cool. Duel's I think it's a great entry into Steven Spielberg's portfolio leading up to Jaws. A lot of people have said, he took a lot of the inspiration of Alfred Hitchcock, and obviously to bring Jaws to life. But you see a lot of Duel in that as well.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That is awesome.
Well, Duel is a Hollywood version, and I don't say this prejudicially, of a student film.
Yeah.
In the sense that it's more about a one-trick pony and a lot of style, but it's still great. Anyway,
there's a great channel out there. I don't remember who I was watching, who had it, but going into the lenses uh, with Steven Spielberg films in particular, and his style and so forth, and how he, open apertures and everything's in focus, and creating some really dynamic shots through those. Very, 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 very interesting. Steven Spielberg's directorial style, obviously the kind of stories that he creates through the camera, just awesome. But man, Lou, maybe we got to talk about this a little bit. Steven Spielberg's he's obviously produced some of the greatest films of all time. I'm not saying that he hasn't, but man, he's had kind of an up and down career, right? At various points in his
look,
filmography.
Here's how I'd put it: when you have the astounding power that you have, which is a result of huge box office. Let's face it. Nobody made him one of the top directors of all time because of his talent per se. They didn't say, well, his movies lose money, but he's still great, so let him do it anyway. They said his movies make money, and even if 1 out of 3 makes money, maybe the one we back will be the 1 out of 3. When you have that kind of power where you can say, I want to do this, and somebody's out there who will say yes, can you get flabby or self-indulgent? Or maybe. But I don't think you can take much away from him. He's a pretty talented guy. And,
very talented. No question at all.
I think he makes some strange choices in places. Like everybody's favorite darling of the silver screen, Rachel Zegler.
Or AI, or any of those other.
Yeah, but it's like his name will get you in the door.
Sure.
And there are very few directors that's true of. Very few.
Yeah.
Very, very few. And even when we think of the great directors of the past, Michael Curtiz, for example, or even John Huston, their name didn't sell the ticket. Errol Flynn sold the ticket. The writers didn't sell the ticket. There's a famous, and I should preface this by saying that part of my heritage is Polish, so I'm entitled to tell this joke. But did you hear about the Polish starlet who came to Hollywood and slept with the writers? If you think a minute, you'll see that's the whole joke. She was so stupid, she slept with the people without the influence. Anyway.
I gotcha.
Well, and my two favorites, as long as we're on the subject, how did they know the Polish mafia was in town? They found 2 guys with their heads tied together, shot through the hands. And then maybe a little edgy for this show, but what the hell? Did you hear about the Polish bank robber?
No.
He tied up the safe and blew the teller. Anyway. And I'll stop that now. But anyway.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, well.
That's. Oh, there you go. Fantastic. Let's see here. I think we have a couple of questions here. Very interesting ones for sure. Lou, this is a good question for you right here. Would you rather watch all seasons of Star Trek Discovery back to back or all Disney Star Wars?
Peaky in the brain first.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think I would still have to go with Disney Star Wars, but man, that's it's terrible what CBS have done to the film franchises.
One of the great things, I have no false pride. If something stinks, I can turn it off.
Right.
And it just as people are learning about things.
Yeah. There's so much.
You mean just because they made 8 bad episodes, you don't have to watch more than the 1 or 2 to know it stinks and not watch the others? Surprise. Right. Surprise.
Well, there's so much great stuff out there, folks. There's so many great things. You literally don't have enough time in your life to absorb it all. Why waste it on bad stuff? Definitely, for sure. I agree with you, Lou. Save it for the good stuff.
Somebody's asking a good question, though, about, what was it, Elite Cars or something? Johnny Graben Graber,
Okay.
Space Jockey, any interest in doing a show on Hollywood elite automobiles? Sure, why not?
Ooh, that
Now,
would be
when you
cool.
say elite, you mean ones that are, I hate to use this word. I think it's the most terrible, awful, overused word of our times, but iconic. I mean, obviously, there's the things that were built for movies, like the Batmobile. And I mean, when I say that, this the Batman 66 Batmobile. The others are just, Kit, or the Munster Mobile, or there's lots of constructs. But then there's just people that happen to drive really great cars and became famous for them. Well, that crappy Peugeot of Columbo's. I think it was a Peugeot, the gray falling down piece of junk. People always ask me, well, do you get starstruck by that? Well, I remember the first time I was at Universal working there rather than just on a tour, and drove past where that was parked and said, oh my God, that's, Columbo's car. And we were talking about Frank Cannon's Lincoln Continental. It was a great car.
Great car.
Other people had no car. One of my favorite shows with David Jansen, Harry O, he took the bus everywhere in San Diego. And that was part of him being not their typical TV detective. But
Lou,
he had a boat he was working on. If you remember, he had this boat that he was constantly trying to get ready to sail off into the blue. And I always loved the name. I thought if I ever had a boat, I might name it that too. I don't know. You know what his boat was called? Anybody out there in the chat remember, Harry O? The Answer.
Oh.
The boat was called The Answer. Yeah.
That's a great name. That's a great. Fantastic. Lou, we're gonna have to actually do that. I think that'd be a good theme to have for a show. Just going over.
And John's talking about. Well, there's always Gables Duesenberg and. Oh well, I'm not that close, Johnny.
That's fun.
Well, but when you say you had cars custom made back in the day, you have to remember a lot of those cars. When you hear the thing "Body" by Fisher, or you hear that, well, we showed it last time, didn't we? Banachek's Victoria, which was Darren, who was a designer. A lot of those original old cars, especially Rolls and Duesenberg and Cord, they didn't come with a standard body. You had the body made separately by different people who did custom coach work. I mean, there was a stock model, but nobody who was anybody got it. So let's see. On your stream. Oh my goodness. I don't know what your stream is. What is your stream about, John?
There's a
type fast
Victoria right there.
God, I love it. There was a green one for sale at one point that I thought,
Really?
But as I've said, I'm not a purist. I will take the body with a modern chassis any day. But God, that was a car.
What a great color, by the way, too.
Oh, that one, yeah, the maroon. I haven't seen that one until you brought these up, but
it just
and that is a car that had very, very little circulation, because it came out right alongside of World War II, and they stopped making cars. Everything went to tanks and other war necessities.
Right.
So.
Yeah, along with that, everything else, tires and so forth, and all kinds of stuff. But great stuff. Really fantastic there. Definitely gonna have to do a car show or car Hollywood car related show. I think that'd be really, really fun.
The Cars of the Stars. There used to be a place in Buena Park next to Hollywood Wax Museum.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, I got you. Yeah. I think I remember seeing that actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, so cool.
On Beach
So
Boulevard,
cool. Love it.
north of Knott's. But
And fantastic here. Let me see here. I believe somebody had something for us.
I would never force a class to watch a movie. Is the answer, Dice. I'm just not that kind of guy. Punk Waddle, one of my favorite law enforcement officers.
Love Punk Waddle. Love what they're doing over there.
Hey, Punk, if you had a car of, if we gave you your own show, as the Punk Waddle Cop, what would your car be? What would your iconic vehicle of choice be?
That's interesting. I would think a Crown Victoria, but
well, which is my car.
Right.
My third of them. But you can't get them no more. They're gone.
Yeah, you have. It's funny.
Well, now that's interesting, Punk. I don't know if you know this, but John Wayne had a station wagon where they raised the roof custom for him because he was too tall for it.
That's a great story.
It's actually on display at that great John Wayne Museum in Fort Worth, if you're ever there.
Good question here. Did the Penguin?
Seems to me, didn't he have in one of those early episodes, the ones where he's running for office and collecting all the money in the streets with a vacuum cleaner? Seems to me, yeah.
I want to say
Airwolf. Well,
let me see here. Let me see what comes up here. No, not really. But I want to say Penguin had a car. I want to say at some point, but who knows? Obviously, Batman had a car.
And a boat and a helicopter.
Mm-hmm.
And a surfboard.
Had some great stuff there. 57 Chevy, most beautiful car ever designed. It's art. Some great 1950s and 60s classics, that's for sure. Goodness gracious.
57 Chevy. Well, it's nice, but refresh my memory. Yeah. All I know is nowadays seems like every new car looks like a cheap Japanese tennis shoe.
Sorry, I don't know why that hit me so big. That is such a great description of what's going on there.
They look,
Yeah.
Anyway,
here's a great channel recommendation for y'all. Vice Grip Garage. If you've ever seen that.
No. What is it?
Oh, so good. Mechanic out in Tennessee now, and he just goes and finds these cars that have been abandoned for 20, 30, 40 years. Gets them running at the place in which they're housed, and then drives them home 200, 300, 400, 500 miles, and sees if he can actually get home with these cars that he just kind of scotch tape and bubble gum together to get them home. Very, very great channel. It's awesome stuff. It's if you know some of the Vash isms, I'll say some of those come from Vice Grip. They're very, very cool, but classic cars.
I always used to say I would like a car, regardless of what it looked like, that was all armor plated. I used to say I would not hit anybody in person intentionally. Mm-hmm. I would just stop avoiding them. Let them bounce, Yeah. I feel like I spend more time on the road avoiding bad drivers than I do having fun on my own.
Ain't that the truth? Now, Lou, in your opinion, drivers out in your neck of the woods there, better or worse than LA?
The drivers are good, but the roads in some cases are poorly designed. I think the biggest flaw in the highway system out here is that the on-ramps and off-ramps are way too short. In other words, it's like you're just getting up to speed and boom, you're there. And if nobody wants you let you in that left lane, it isn't like in California where you can go a long time before you merge and pick your spot. So that would be my only criticism. But
that's a fair point.
But then, yeah, of course, I remember. And if you think about this, you'll know. If you think about the 10 going towards downtown from Santa Monica, how it's in a ditch and all the on and off ramps go up and down. And I remember going to USC one morning, and a guy is going up the off ramp, and he isn't making it, and he's starting to roll back down the hill towards me in the right lane. And you had two choices: try and stop, ain't gonna happen. Speed up. I did, and I saw him roll down into traffic in the rearview mirror, thank God. Not for him, but for me. So that's always interesting.
Man, always.
But then I see some of these things on the various video channels of these idiots that they're driving along and look over there. There's a tornado. Let's stop and take movies of it. It's coming right at us. No. What you want to do is go away from the bad thing that could kill you. Don't get me started. Too late. Anyway, that's not movies either. We go everywhere on this show, don't we?
We do go everywhere. It's we have no limit. Apparently, now we're talking about classic cars. Hey, I'm all here for it. That's all fine. Classic law enforcement vehicle, a 1950s classic like the 5 Bel Air is my starting place.
There you go.
Really.
Yeah.
There you go. Let's see here. I can find that. Powerful.
Lap Club, I'm glad you don't smoke, because neither did I ever. But then my parents didn't. I think that has a lot to do with it. My mother would fake it, because when you were hanging out for auditions for things, you had to be doing something. So people would, fiddle with a cigarette in these waiting rooms. But
that's something that you used to see quite a bit of, right? Cigarettes or cigars in waiting rooms, but also too just cigarettes in general and in film and television. It's crazy when you pull up an old show. There's so much cigarette
stuff out there. I used to love Art Deco toys, the real things, and half of them are ashtrays. And I thought, I don't need an ashtray. I don't smoke, and I don't allow smoking in my house. So. So that cut me out of those. Anyway.
Right. But hey, Blap Club, thank you. I'm honored to have this as your favorite show.
Yes,
we try to keep it. We try to keep it as a show that is everybody's favorite. But to have it as your favorite, very honored.
It's certainly our favorite, but we're prejudiced.
It's a good line. It's a great line. It's true. Let's see here. I love the episode numbers where Larry and Charlie disagree on Larry's old car. It was beautiful, but Charlie thought it as old tech. I'll take beauty. Yeah, classic cars, man. There's something to be said about them. That is for sure. Let's see here. Josh Hammond. The thing about the Batmobile is that, at least in my opinion, can be any kind of vehicle. That is true. I think it's. I didn't imagine the Tumbler being, one of my favorite Batmobiles. But
yeah, that's a good one. That's a fun one.
Right?
I'll take that second after 66. Absolutely. But
well, it's kind of like your armored tank almost that you were talking about there. But you wouldn't have to avoid anybody.
Man,
but just wonderful. Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to do a car episode. That is. For sure. Yep, Josh Hammond. Yeah, I know. It's one of my absolute favorites now, because it's function over form. That is for sure. I believe it was of Christopher Nolan's own design. I don't think it was based on any like one vehicle. Let's say I think it was a kind of a hybrid design that Christopher Nolan had envisioned and brought to life. Very, very cool. Awesome stuff. Tumblr, acceptable deviation in context of the movie as well.
Well, I like the whole hunker down, roll into the front to fire the gizmo.
That's cool.
It's almost like a ball turret in a World War II bomber when he goes down in there.
That's a great point. Yeah, that's so true. Let me see here. I'm sure you guys have seen it. There you go. Tumblr right there. Very cool stuff. I know Christopher Nolan very heavily. It's one of those things. Very involved in the productions and the concept designs and so forth. I think that was a design that he had and they brought to life. And apparently, like they built it and constructed it for the film. Ran great. Like it was super reliable and it pretty much did anything that they wanted to do. It's pretty cool. Pretty awesome stuff right there.
Yeah.
Let's see. Plot Club, VashSky and Lou. I'm an animator / programmer, and my art is math. Very cool. Awesome stuff. I hope to be the Catmull to Walt Disney World. I'm sorry, WW's ambassador at his future studio. I have not quit smoking yet, but hope to meet you all someday. I hope to meet you too. That is very, very cool. Keep at it. The animation stuff. I know my brother's into that. You've actually seen some of his work before. If you've seen like the breaking news that WW Pro and that Park Place and C3PO uses,
the one with Bob's Hippo as the siren.
Yes, the Bob's Hippo, the Death Star little thing right there. Let me see if I actually have it. I might have it on my soundboard right here. Let's see this one. Here we go. That one.
Louder.
That was done from by my brother, right there. So
wait, he made the noise.
He made the animation.
Well, what did he eat that disagreed with it?
That's oh man. Oh, it's so funny. But yeah, keep up with it. Keep up with the Black Club. Awesome stuff. Hope to meet you as well. I know we've been talking about doing a possible meetup sometime in some way with the That Park Place network. Hopefully we can make that a reality someday.
I will maintain my anonymity and avoid it, but I'll be there in spirit.
Absolutely. Don't worry, Lou. You are always with us, no matter what. Let's see here. So I guess, Lou, did you say what your favorite of the classic cars and movie cars were?
Well, I think we've mentioned a few of them, yeah.
Well, a few favorites, but what's your absolute favorite?
Oh, it's got to be that Darren Victoria that Banachek drives. Although I prefer it in other colors than black, but yeah, absolutely. That's class.
That's true.
That's class.
So great. Mine's going to have to be the Back to the Future DeLorean. I just think it's awesome. I think the design is super cool. And I don't know, grew up with it as a kid. Honestly,
well, I can't get it for you like I did the other thing, but I had a friend who was on the DeLorean grand jury, and he brought home all kinds of sketches of DeLoreans and other things that were
no
evidence.
Way.
Wasn't supposed to, but
that's awesome.
Oh yeah,
that is so cool. Very interesting stuff regarding DeLorean. That is for sure. But the and then obviously the car, wasn't that successful, unfortunately, for DeLorean himself. But but the obviously the movie popularized it to just an unbelievable extent. And there have been many people out there who have actually constructed them in their homes and so forth. Very, very cool. But yeah, DeLorean's gotta be my number one. And that was the coolest thing about the Back to the Future ride. You can kind of ride in one in the film and ride the movies, so to speak. Hopefully.
Yes, ride the movies. Well,
some of that returns.
And there's all those Mustangs from the Magic Skyway from New York Fair too. That are out there somewhere. But
that's super cool.
Yeah.
But I wonder how you would track down whether it was one of the originals.
Oh, I bet they came with some sort of official provenance certification, because I think that, as I seem to remember reading something. Don't hold me to this, but that they put them out through the most favored dealers across the country so they could have something that would draw people in to see it, even if that wasn't the car they wound up buying.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Hopefully, maybe maybe some of that stuff does exist, and we can track some of those down, because I think that's really, really cool to kind of have this notable vehicle that obviously, 1964, 65 Mustang.
I was just amazed that they just didn't get shells and use them for the ride and be
Right.
done with them, but that they were actually real cars, that they took the stuff they had to out of. Maybe, I don't know, was Gurr involved in that? Because he would know whether they had to make them lighter to run on that system. I mean, obviously no gas in them, but still.
And if people don't know what we were talking about there before, we mentioned in our previous show, the 1964-65 World's Fair, in participation with Walt Disney, was able to put on the Ford's Magic Skyway. And as part of that, you were able to go through, the passage of time, basically, through...
The dinosaurs wound up being the ones that are at the primeval world.
Disneyland. Mm-hmm. Indeed. But
the cars that you rode, the vehicles for the ride, were cars. That was the same year the Mustang came out, so they were mostly Mustangs, convertibles. And as I mentioned, one of the neat things I remember as a kid riding it was that the 5 buttons on the radio that normally would be preset to channels, each one was labeled with a different language, English and Spanish and French, and I think Japanese or Chinese, and maybe German, I don't remember. But anyway.
That's so cool. And then, what is it? I think the Bob Gurr and John Hinch, I believe, were able to come up with the technology to actually move these cars along, like a conveyor belt system and so forth. A series of motors in the track that would push you from motor to motor, and they were actually able to use those, every single one of them, put those in as motors for the actual People Mover itself when that attraction made its debut, 1967 Tomorrowland, if I recall correctly. And
of course doing it with those separate motors let them change speeds without having to speed up or slow down a chain or a drive that ran through the whole ride. Because every section you came to, if it was running a little faster, you'd go a little faster and slow it down and all the rest of it. But of course, for Ford, it was the ultimate promotion, because however many hundreds of thousands of people rode that over the 2 years of the fair were taking a test drive in a new Ford without having to come into the dealer. Because the seats and the look of it and all that was the same as the production cars. So
such a great way to show off a product and do it in this great, amazing way. There's a lot of 1964, 65 World's Fair innovations there, but Disney definitely came out on top with a lot of what they had to share and showcase. Very cool. You'll see in the People Mover 2, one of the advantages of doing motors on the ground like this, as opposed to Walt Disney World's version, where you have basically linear induction, is how that works. Is you have you can do elevation changes where these People Mover vehicles can actually go uphill.
And of course, nowadays linear induction has gotten so good. I remember riding, I guess it was the first one in Southern California anyway, Superman out at Magic Mountain.
Yep.
And that was fantastic. But now I see videos of these multi-lift induction coasters around the world, and that you can go from regular speed to super hyper fast instantaneously as you turn a corner, and then it'll slow down, and then it'll, or these rides where they put you onto a track that the cars stop and it shifts over to a different track, and then it's driven off of that by that too.
Linear induction or
very fancy.
Linear synchronous motors have gotten really, really powerful now. Obviously, like Lou was describing, that's how you get these huge speeds. With King Dakar uses LSM launches, and obviously Intamin has a number of Blitz coaster models out there. 2 of those being the Velocicoaster and also to Hagrid's Magical Creature Motorbike Adventure.
And
they've gotten very powerful. But
God, what was it called? I'm trying to remember. It's at Europa Park, and I was watching one the other day it was based around Nikola Tesla. You actually had an animatronic of him in one portion of the ride, like an old powerhouse, And man, was that a pretty amazing POV on that. What's that channel that does all the POVs of the rides around the world? Attractions, something.
Could be Attractions 360.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the
Mm-hmm.
one.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'll figure out what this thing was called here eventually. But
yeah, I believe. Let me see here. Electrifying coaster, never experienced before.
Voltron. That's it.
Voltron.
Here, wait a minute. Here's the link over here in our little sideshow.
Yeah, super cool.
Oh, wow. And they get to the POV of it, and man, look at that. It's a stand-up, and it's so smooth. Look at there. Huh. And the set is good, too.
That's incredible. That is amazing. The European parks.
I want to ride that one. You know, I look at that.
Oh yeah.
But then I saw the POVs of Stardust. Is it now, or is it Star? Anyway,
Stardust Race. Stardust Racers
at Universal.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, does that look like fun! It's almost a dance, the way the two intertwine with each other.
I love it. Absolutely love some of these new coaster models coming out. By the way, too, folks, we have a show on That Park Place coming out about Top Thrill Dragster. Jonas and I recorded that. We recorded essentially like, hey, we not quite sure what is going on. We're thinking that it's going to be, closed for the entire 2024 season. And all of a sudden, that day, after not saying anything for 100 days, Lou, that day, Cedar Point decides, hey, we have a big update. We're going to tell you that it's not open for the 2024 season. It's one of those things, so I had to contact Jonas. Yep. Got to contact Jonas, got to get that re-recorded, but we are looking
folks,
into that for sure.
That should cause all of you out there in podcast land, I was going to say radio land or TV land, but that isn't it, to even admire further the people behind the scenes. I show up and talk, but Vash and Jonas and all of our wrenches and, of course, Pro and Culture, these guys, man, for them to keep up with all this stuff when the news changes. Somebody said something about it was a busy news week, and I said, when is it not lately?
Yeah.
There's something going on in all of this all the time, it seems.
Yep.
And
it's a struggle to keep up, I will say, and we have a lot of help behind the scenes in order to make that possible, including you guys. Actually, I've had a number of you guys actually reach out and give us tips on what is going on and give me, some information on just things that just aren't or necessarily our purview, and it's been great. It's been incredible. You guys doing the real work here. On all kinds of stuff. I know Reply by Mail recently reached out to me and said, hey, have you seen this permit? I found some things that are really interesting. It's like, oh, okay. And share with me what he had. And it was like, wow, this is actually really profound. So thank you so much, guys, for not only engaging with us, super chats, obviously, the comments, the shares, everything you guys do is just so spectacular, but actually reaching out and letting us know what you want us to talk about and letting us know anything we missed. Seriously, it has been so much fun, and you guys, you make us look better than we are. I'll put it that way. But Lou, what do you got going on there in the genre? As you said, you were doing Superman. That's going to be debuting very soon on the
next
WWE
week.
Pro
I guess
channel.
I lose track because we knew that Hangry was going to be indisposed, so Hangry and Lauren and I did 2 a week instead of 1 a week for a few weeks, and they're all in the can waiting. And so I'm not sure what order they're all coming out in. I'll tell you when we get to Superman that we're back to our once a week schedule, and we've got lots of movies on the list. And every time I rediscover a classic, I say, well, that ought to be there and that ought to be there. It's like the scene in Wizard of Oz. and you were there, and you were there on our list of great movies. Yeah, I love old musicals, but then they knew how, and that talk about hard work.
Mm-hmm.
The rehearsing and the planning, and man, those people knew how to work.
Oh man, some amazing musicals in the history of Hollywood. That is absolutely for sure. Again, probably more genre guys that need to be added to the list. Well, that's for sure. But on this channel, we have Dr. No coming up. That's going to be debuting tomorrow. I'm trying to get the thumbnail ready for preparation for the show, but things are moving quick around here, around the VashSky sanctum, or whatever you want to call it.
Yes,
lots of moving stuff in the background. And then next week after that is going to be the Bollywood special there.
Oh, great! Oh, folks. Oh, let me tell you, and I'll briefly tell you what happened.
Please.
When Carl Weathers passed away, God bless him, we decided to do Action Jackson, and we did. And in the course of doing it, we discovered that there is a Bollywood Action Jackson. It's actually got nothing to do with it but the title. And I was brave enough to actually watch the damn thing. It is the wildest. It is the craziest. It is the most wonderfully, bizarrely strange mix of really, really, really rough action, which Lauren was shocked at how, well, I guess the only word for it is misogynistic. Let's just say all those guys in Bollywood hit harder than that Olympic boxer. And comedy, and musical numbers, and dancing. And anyway, we decided, or I decided and forced them into it somehow, to do an episode on that movie. And it's on YouTube, and it's free. And we finally found there's a subtitled version, because I watched it just in Hindi or whatever it's in. But go check out Bollywood Action Jackson and be prepared to be astounded. Because it's a movie that if you knew everything that was going on, you still wouldn't know. I mean, they're doing their thing, and they're in India, and they're fighting and whatever, and suddenly they're in Switzerland with 4 guys dressed up like Elvis impersonators doing a dance. And it's like, what's this got to do with what I don't know. I still don't know, but it's fun, and the people are beautiful, and they're funny, and then when we got into it, well, you'll see when you see the show. Do you know how many movies they make there? I mean, they make more movies in a year there than MGM did in 1939. They just crank them out, and they're not easy. They're big casts of big numbers of people, and obviously require a great deal of rehearsal, both of the fight stuff and the musical stuff. And so, anyway, that's a very special show. Have you watched it yet, Vash?
I have not. I have always wanted to.
If it doesn't, let me just put it this way, and I don't mean to offend anyone. If watching that genre, guys, does not inspire you to actually go find the movie and watch the whole thing, shame on you. Shame
Fantastic. On you. Well, I am going to.
Not because you think it's good necessarily. You might think it's terrible, but you'll still think, I have to see this for myself to understand. It is not in English. I'm seeing some of the chats here, but there is, if you look hard, it took me 3 or 4 times to find the subtitled version. Mostly it's not, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just, God, should I find the link? I don't know. I think I can find the link, but let's see.
Maybe you can find the link. If you can find the link, maybe we'll put that in there.
Let's see.
But yeah, we will be covering that film as well, and I am super excited to actually cover that, because I have heard Lou talk about this for so long, and unfortunately, when you're trying to keep up with the ins and outs of all of the various channels and networks that we have as part of that Park Place network, you just sometimes things just kind of slip by, and you're not able to give things due time. At least at the time that these things are released. So to go back and actually see this, I am unbelievably excited. And
Here's
Jeff
the
and
trailer.
guys.
It'll give you a taste of it anyway. Come on.
Let's see here. Is that the link you just showed me?
Eros. Eros is the company that made it. Go figure.
Let's see here. Let me see if I can at least skip through some of it.
And there's the whole feature without subtitles, but I don't know. Here's our hero, VJ. AJ.
This just looks phenomenal.
Oh.
This looks great.
And I mean, the fighting stuff with the swords and they're really good, you know. And this girl is fantastically funny. And there's like when he romances, he dances. Yes.
I have got to see this film. I cannot wait.
And it's one of those really plots fun. Where he has an identical twin who's a gangster. Ooh. And so he's just an everyday guy. He works at a pool boy at a luxury hotel. And they think he's the gangster guy and vice versa. And anyway.
Oh, this is great. I got to see this. I got to see the film. I got to see the Genre Guys episode on this.
Oh, yeah. Well, anyway. So there's something for people to look forward to.
Yes.
And the musical numbers and the
Absolutely. And Jeff, if you want to go ahead and see more of Lou Wasserman's Ghost, we have plenty of content on this channel that you're actually watching our live stream from. So definitely subscribe to T3PO if you have not. And if you want to see the Genre Guys as soon as they are released, go ahead and become a member at WWE Pro's channel. And they're all accessible right there, going back to the very first Genre Guys episodes in the series. And obviously to the new ones that are produced here. By Lou, Hangry, Lorne, now Marvin?
Yeah, no commitment, no appointment, only punishment.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this episode with Lou Wasserman's Ghost himself on Hollywood Backlot with Lou and you. Thank you so much. We had some technical issues in the front half there. Do apologize about that, but you guys are such good sports. Thank you so much for sticking around and giving us a little bit of patience there.
I'm laughing at the chat because no, you can't see my face. No, I don't do anything with my face. And then Josh Hammond says he kind of looks like RDJ.
Well,
without the charm, the handsomeness, and the money, that is. But also without the drugs, so it's a trade.
Well, there you go.
But
learn to live, I suppose. Thank you so much, guys, and we will all see you all here next time. Again, it's going to be on Saturday as well. Going to be traveling back from Palm Springs on next Sunday. So Saturday at 11 a.m. PST, or
if you're in the desert, look for Vash.
Oh yeah. Palm Springs, right there.
You can get an autograph signed or something. Well, why not?
Oh boy. Well, I don't know if I'm there yet, but hey, you know what? Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next Saturday. Thanks, guys.
Adios, all.